this is my review of that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Okay, so this episode is mainly to catch Rimuru up on what happened to his town while he was gone. So, it starts off with the fight against Hinata, as we remember from the last episode, with Rimuru being run through by Hinata's Dead-End Rainbow Sword, and then as he's activating Gluttony. And as it turned out, it was a gambit that paid off because Rimuru's Gluttony enabled him to manifest all the different monsters that he's absorbed up to this point. And which basically turns him into a chimera that's built for fighting and is borderline unbeatable. So, because this form has many different creatures trapped within it, Hinata surmises that the form itself has no soul, and proceeds instead to distract Rimuru with lesser spirits until she can activate her disintegrate skill and destroy Rimuru. And with that, she believes that she's avenged Shizu's death and leaves, unaware that Rimuru has actually survived the encounter, and then releases Ranga from his shadow, now that the barrier is gone. And then Rimuru reveals what actually happened. As it turns out, as he was battling during the fight where he brings out Ifrit, he actually created a doppelganger of himself while separating his true form from the doppelganger, which enabled him and then set the doppelganger to fight independently so that he could survive, and the only way he could actually win was to run away. So yeah, Rimuru quickly realizes that he would have lost, although he saves face by telling Ranga that he utterly defeated her, but if Hinata insists, that he'll call it a draw. At which point Rimuru realizes that they need to get back to town because he realizes something is very, very wrong. And issues a teleport command to Tempest, only to discover that because of the barriers, they can't actually teleport directly to Tempest, and so he instead asks Great Sage to teleport him to the nearest location to Tempest, which happens to be Vesta's cave, where he makes all of his high potions. As it turns out, in addition to Vesta, a couple of other survivors have actually got trapped outside the town when the barrier went up. Namely Gabiru, Sui, Suka, and a couple of other unnamed people that we never actually get to meet. And after realizing this, and after asking them about the situation and what's going on, Rimuru quickly realizes that there's a barrier erected around the town, and that they can't actually get in and make contact with anybody else. And after using Great Sage to analyze the barrier, he discovers that it's actually a two-layer barrier, one layer of which was erected outside, while the other was erected inside using great magic. And with that, he gives everybody outside the town marching orders. He creates a soul link with Sui so that they can communicate even with the barrier, and directly using a piece of spider silk to connect the two spiritually, so that they can continue to communicate even without magic. And then send Sui and his party to deal with the people outside and take down the outer barrier, while he goes inside to deal with the person responsible for the inner barrier, and then has Gabiru stand watch so that they can make sure nobody shows up to try and interfere. At which point Rimuru heads inside both barriers to go find the town, to go through the town and figure out who survived the massacre and who didn't. And quickly finds out that it is indeed in a very ruined state. But he eventually does find several of the survivors who are holed up near the town hall, and quickly discovers that a lot of people were injured but are being cared for. At which point Rigurdo shows up adamantly happy that Rimuru has showed up, and tries to fill him in on the situation, pointing out that it's no big deal, and tries to hide the fact that there was a big problem. But Rimuru is very smart and quickly realizes that there's something wrong, and even Kaijin urges Rimuru that there was indeed a big problem that while he was gone. And eventually Rigurdo tries to find the words to actually explain what happened, but he never actually gets the chance, because around that time Rimuru hears Barimaru fighting and proceeds to go check it out. And as it turns out, as should not be a surprise, Benimaru actually found out that Mulan was the one who erected the barrier, and fought Yum until he passed out, and is currently fighting Grucius to a standstill. And Rimuru quickly diffuses the situation and asks what exactly happened. And Grucius and Yum very adamantly apologize to Rimuru for basically betraying him, and then ask him to hear him out, even though, despite Mulan's urging that it's not really their place, and that she's sorry for dragging them into it, and then tells Rimuru that there's something he needs to know, and responds that it doesn't really sit in words, so that she'll just have to show him. So she brings him to the center of town. And it is just a massive mass grave in the middle of the town. There's a lot of monsters dead in the middle of the town. Most of which I don't think are people we met. I don't think, but a good chunk of them are dead. And Rimuru finds out from one of the goblins who was there, hobgoblins who was there when it happened, that it was because they actually did do what he said. They didn't attack the humans while they were there, and this was the result. And Rimuru quickly starts beating himself up because he realizes that if he instead taught them to defend themselves instead of telling them that they're not allowed to attack humans, that the massacre probably wouldn't have happened. And Mulan quickly doesn't really add to any of this. She doesn't really add to any of Rimuru's grief, pointing out that it was her who erected the barrier. And he quickly focuses his anger on her, but Great Sage reels him in, pointing out that it wasn't her barrier that caused all the people to become weak and actually get into a fight and die. And Rimuru quickly surmises that she's most likely drawing his ire so that he has somebody to blame. But after assessing the situation, Rimuru has all of his main followers retreat back to the town hall, and also Mjolnir, who was the guy that Rimuru was talking to earlier in the season about the trade routes and stuff, and is apparently just here. For whatever reason he wound up in Tempest during the massacre, and he's just kind of here. So Mjolnir winds up being a present party inside the emergency meeting. At which point everybody begins to fill Rimuru in on what exactly happened, and we kind of already know what happened. This is just kind of catching Rimuru up to speed, but basically, after the barriers went up, a bunch of humans showed up, massacred attacked everybody, and explained that they would be back in a week if they didn't basically relent to King Edamaris and declare their undying loyalty to him, pointing out, and then they left. At which point, Rimuru quickly realizes there's a connection with Hinata Sakaguchi, and realizes that the church most likely has it out for them because they're monsters and their doctrines don't allow for monsters. So therefore, they attacked. But then wonders why the kingdom of Falmouth is actually involved as well. At which point, Mjolnir and Kobe actually fill in the blanks for him, pointing out that as time has gone on, the Kingdom of Tempest has actually become the new trade route of the country, as we pointed out. But it's because of that Falmouth has actually taken a bit of a hit financially, and because of that, Rimuru wound up making a very dangerous enemy. And Rimuru didn't even realize that that's what was happening. He was just kind of minding his own business, building up Tempest to be the best it can be, and then he wound up causing the Kingdom of Falmouth and the Church to basically try and kill him dead and all of his followers dead, simply before existing and becoming a nation of monsters. So, sure enough, because of that, Rimuru realizes that it was possibly his fault, because he didn't realize he was playing with fire, as he puts it. And then proceeds to prepare for a confrontation with Edamaris to actually try and get him to try and figure out how they can actually prevent another massacre from happening. And then finally he turns his attention to Mulan and asks her why she's playing what her role in all of this is, and why she decided to attack Tempest. And despite Yom and Grucius's urgings, well, or rather because of them, she actually reveals that she has nothing to hide and reveals that she's actually a servant of Demon Lord Clayman. And everybody is suddenly shocked by that because they know Clayman is a very big deal and doesn't really like Rimuru all that much. So they're a little bit surprised that she's working for him, but aren't so surprised that he decided to attack the town. And Rimuru even remarks that himself. But yeah, so overall this episode as a whole was just to catch Rimuru up and reiterate all the points we've learned, but to basically concise them into one episode so that we know everything that we need to do going forward. And so there's not much that happens in this episode, but it does help catch Rimuru up to speed and also summarize everything that we've seen up to this point. It's not a very big episode, but it does show the aftermath of what happened at Tempest, and also catches Rimuru up to speed, and by extension us as the audience, so that we have all the plot points going forward that we need for presumably the rest of this half of the season, because it will be picked up in summer at some point. So yeah, that's basically what this episode was. I kind of like it because it kind of just helps us get all the plot points straight. That's mainly what it's for, and I have no problems with that. But in any case, that's my review of That Time It Got Reincarnated as a Slime. If you enjoyed, then what did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below if you want to help support if you want to find out more about the channel and keep up to date with what's going on. And if you want to help support the show, then be sure to check out my Patreon. It's only a couple bucks a month. It helps me out, so if you have a couple bucks to spare, then spend them to help me make videos so that I can continue to make content for you guys. And also, if you guys do want to see more videos from me, then be sure to check out the end screen. There are two videos there. One video is based on your recommendations, based on what you've already watched, and we'll pick the video best for you. Whereas the other one is the most recent video and the one that I last uploaded. So if you wanna check out either of those, then be sure to check those out on the end screen immediately after this video. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!